Our guest for today is Dr. Amy Anderton. Dr. Anderton is the Director of World Languages Programs for the Dallas Independent School District in Dallas, Texas. Dr. Anderton has been working in K-12 education for over 30 years. So I know that she has a wealth of experience and knowledge that we can all learn from today. Dr. Anderton, thank you so much for coming on the show to share your story with our viewers and our listeners.
Well, thank you, Dr. Williams, for inviting me. What's not going on in my life and in my career right now? We're finishing up the end of the school year, so it really winds down for teachers, but for central staff in curriculum departments, it gears up at this time. We get ready for professional learning for the summer and already looking at professional learning for the upcoming fall as well. So we are really, really busy. I've been working like 10, 11-hour days the last couple of weeks. Wow. And weekends. We finished yesterday in Dallas, and the kids were all excited. I spent the day at a high school kind of, helping the kids get moved to where they need to go and not cutting out early or things like that. So it was nice to be back in the building. Right now in the world languages world, we are very, very excited that we just awarded 1,943 seals of biliteracy for we call it the Texas Performance Acknowledgement for Bilingualism and Biliteracy.
Wow.
And we awarded 1,943 this year. So I was very excited about that. Many of them are exited emergent bilinguals, we call them now in Texas, or English language learners, that some people still call them. And many went through our dual language program. Hundreds went through our dual language program. We've got the largest dual language program in I think K-12 in the country, I believe.
Wow.
That's a different department, but we do collaborate together quite a bit. So it's the globalseal.com, and they will, if you qualify, they will put the students' names, or adults as well, in a database. There are 3 different levels of fluency: a functional, working, and professional fluency. And we have, I don't quite have the final count, but around 1,000 kids are going to qualify for that as well.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited.
Wow. So as the Director of World Languages, what do you like most about your position?
I think opening new opportunities to students. We are about 71 or 72% Hispanic. Not all Hispanics speak Spanish. I understand that. But the majority do, at least to some extent. So being able to open another world of culture and language and just way of thinking to our monolingual students, and actually to our bilingual students, a third world to them, is what's so exciting for me. We offer 11 foreign languages in Dallas ISD.
Okay.
We're hoping to offer a couple more soon. We have Spanish, and I count Spanish for heritage speakers separately because it is taught very different. Spanish heritage, French, German, Italian, Latin, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. We have the largest Korean anywhere in Texas. American Sign Language, and Portuguese. And we have the only Portuguese in public school in Texas as well. Looking to add Russian soon, and possibly Hebrew and Arabic a little bit. And I'm actually dabbling a little bit in Burmese for Burmese speakers.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't think I've ever heard of a school district offering so many different languages. That's amazing.
I've got some pretty amazing colleagues around the country, and some of them offer quite a few, so probably comparable.
Okay.
Some.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I know here in Seattle Public Schools where I work, we offer multiple languages. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's 11 though, maybe 4 or 5. But yeah, that's amazing that you guys are able to offer that many. So that kudos to Dallas ISD.
Well, something I'm especially proud of is our career institutes. We have 3, a north, a south, and an east. And in a couple of years, we'll add a west, career institutes, where feeder schools go to the career institutes. They're bussed in twice a day, either morning or afternoon, either on an A day or a B day.
Okay.
And they take a vocational class, but they also take a foreign language class. And we have added Spanish for careers, Spanish native speakers for careers, and German for careers.
Okay.
And that's especially exciting. We've got over 300 companies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have a parent company in a German-speaking country. So that's the largest of any other language. Second, I believe, is French, and then it goes down quite a bit from there into even double digits for Spanish, Italian, et cetera. And we decided, since there's so many German companies and we're doing mechatronics and advanced manufacturing and things, that we're learning German for careers in addition to Spanish for careers.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really cool. Dr. Anderton, you know, the worldwide pandemic has negatively impacted many staff and students in the USA and the world. How has the pandemic impacted you personally and your career?
We might need to re-record because they're talking down the.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Down a bit. The pandemic. Well, it gave me more time with family at home a lot.
That was a bonus.
It was. I work long days.
Yeah.
My daughter was in Germany when the pandemic hit.
Okay.
She was doing a junior year abroad with she got a scholarship from the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange.
Okay.
And I had to go over and pick her up in March because they were sending everyone home. I mean, she could have gone home alone, but she had a lot of stuff. So I went and picked her up. So that kept us at home a lot, and it gave me more time with family. But I would say that professionally, it burned a lot of our employees. It burned a lot of our kids.
Sure.
We do know about learning loss. I think that's a very common phrase in our world, and we try to mitigate that learning loss with different programs, with different initiatives, with different funding. We have new, federal funding to help with some of that learning loss. And I think that it really hurt foreign languages, especially. Because, to learn a language, you need to experience it as much as possible. And if you can't go to the country, one thing that we do in Dallas is a proficiency-centered curriculum where we try to do scenarios. Everything's based on a scenario that kind of puts the student in as much of a real-world situation where they would have to use their German or Portuguese or Italian or whatever in Dallas. I mean, why would you need a foreign language in Dallas? So we try to make it, realistic, and then they get to talk with each other and collaborate with kids in their class. But that made it very difficult when we shut down because immediately everybody went on Zoom. And as you know, when two people talk at the same time on Zoom, it's difficult. So we did breakout rooms, and the teacher can't monitor all the breakout rooms at the same time. And so then we did learning labs. We got Sanico learning labs, and that helped quite a bit. But it's still just, everything was surreal. And since foreign language in a foreign country is kind of surreal anyway, it just made it a little bit more difficult. We're catching up. I think that this year has been had a hard start, but it's definitely catching up. We saw some incredible gains actually in social studies. Shalon Bond, our director of social studies, has done some amazing work in the post-pandemic era, and we actually had gains to come very, very close to pre-pandemic levels.
That's good.
And very excited about that for our district. We're doing some wonderful, wonderful things that are really bringing us back to pre-pandemic era scores, and foreign language plays a big role in that.
Sure.
I don't know how much you know or your listeners know about our TEKS, our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. We call them TEKS.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Well, they are aligned to the ACTFL standards, the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages.
Okay.
And they are proficiency-based, but they are skills-based. So they mimic literacy or language arts. They are not, grammar, the kids learn past tense in level 2 or things like that.
Mhm.
It's more of what you can do with the language, whether you can analyze, whether you can make complete sentences, whether you can answer questions, whether you can read and interpret, things like that, which are literacy skills. So the more a student learns a foreign language or learns about it, even about their own language, then the better their literacy skills are in English language arts, which, as you know, the better language arts,
Yeah,
the better math, the better social studies and
absolutely.
science, et cetera. And foreign language also gives us those problem-solving skills that we use in science and math. We found in Dallas, we did some anecdotal data, and I shouldn't say anecdotal. It was hard data, but it was unofficial. It wasn't with a research company.
Okay.
And we found that across the board, all EOCs of students who exited a bilingual program, so they were already bilingual. We grouped kids into kids who had taken Spanish, these are Spanish speakers, who had taken Spanish for their graduation requirement, and a group that took a third language for their graduation requirement. And we found that that group that took the third language scored higher in every EOC, with the highest being in science.
Wow.
Because of those problem-solving skills. Language is a problem-solving device.
Sure.
The problem is I want to communicate with you. So how am I going to figure out how to do it? So we try to emphasize those skills that are applicable in other areas, other contents, and in life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I come from a bicultural family. My wife is from Colombia, South America, and my children are bilingual. They speak fluent English and Spanish. And, we had actually been talking about them learning a third language, and you just sealed it for me. They're definitely going to learn a third language because truthfully, I feel like the jobs of our future will be kind of rooted in science and math. And if learning a third language is going to help them do better in those subjects, then by all means, they're going to be doing that. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Sometimes, Dr. Anderton, I think our K-12 profession gets a bad rap. Now, I believe personally that the K-12 profession is the greatest profession in the world, and we are truly the profession that makes all other professions possible. But why do you believe the K-12 education profession gets such a bad rap, and why is it such a noble profession to you?
Well, I think that to be an educator, to be a true educator, doesn't mean you have to be a teacher or an administrator. Our parents are our first educators, but to be a true educator, someone who wants to inspire the love of learning and the curiosity of learning in a child, you need to be called to that.
Sure.
And I see so many people who are called. And I deal with a couple of hundred, we have over 200 foreign language teachers that I deal with very, very frequently, more than other contents, obviously. And I think that by far the overwhelming majority are called. And that's why I think it's noble. It's something that, nobody goes into teaching to get rich. We've all heard this before too. We go because we want to instill a love of learning. We want to instill a curiosity in our children, in our future, in our world's future. We want kids who dig deeper and who want to know more and do better and be better than we are ourselves. And that's what an educator is. And the educator doesn't have to be a public school teacher or administrator or even private. We have tutors that do that. We have like music teachers, music lessons and things that do that inspire that curiosity. We get a bad rap, I think, because everybody has their own way of doing that, their own idea of how that should be done. And everyone comes into this world with their own set of values. We have a lot of, at school board meetings, or not just Dallas, around the country, we've seen this around the country, where parents have a different opinion than what the school board has, and then they get into arguments, and both sides kind of build up, and they think that one's not doing well, and the other's not, and and I think that we just have to recognize that we have different values, and it's okay to learn from someone with some different value set. I do think it would be the parents or the family responsibility to say, these are our values. Now you can learn about others, but I want you to stay true to yours. So let's learn how they're different, learn why theirs is okay for them and ours is okay for us. And I think that might maybe give educators a little bit better reputation instead of saying, well, they don't believe the way I do, or they don't do it the way I would. Well, probably not, but
Right.
It's all different.
That's true. Now, you've been saying, you were talking about earlier how you've been putting in 10, 11, 12-hour days. How do you maintain that work-life balance as a K-12 educator?
Let me ask my husband if I even do that. I think I don't do it very well. Well, I'm sure your listeners don't really care, but I recently started working out.
That's good.
Getting close to 60, approaching a few more years, and it's probably a good idea to focus a little bit more on my health. So I do try. My husband calls me on his way home from work and gives me, okay, what time are you coming home? And I try to stick to the time that I give him. And just I have to remember that my commitments to my family need to trump my commitments to work. And sometimes the commitment to work has to trump it. But I just have to make a conscious effort. If I give everything to work, there's nothing left for family. And therefore, there's nothing left to give to work, because we get our energy, we get our love, we get our support from home and from family. We as educators, and we need to acknowledge our families for supporting us so that we can do this work that we love. And our families also need to see that passion we have for our work is admirable. It's something to be proud of. You know, my wife, my husband is really dedicated to their work, and they really put a lot into their work, and I'm proud of that. So I think we want our families to be proud of what we have a passion for as well. But I'm trying to balance. There are certain times during the year that there is no balance. It's all work. That's all there is to it.
Sure.
But then I try to flip over. I'm taking a vacation over Christmas for the first time in about 8 years.
Wow.
So we're thinking about it. We're planning the vacation, but we're consciously thinking, hey, we need to disconnect, go away for 2 weeks during Christmas.
Oh, cool. I hope you're going out of the country. That'd be real cool.
We're going to take a South American cruise.
Awesome. That's really, really cool. I've had the opportunity, obviously, with a Colombian wife to go to South America. Beautiful country. Beautiful continent.
My husband's from Argentina.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, ¿tú hablas español?
Sí, puedo hablar un poco español, pero no es bastante para enseñar. Yo necesito encontrar la palabra correcta y mi gramática es muy malo, pero puedo visitar una ciudad sola y hablar con la gente y encontrar mis direcciones. That's not even how to say it right. I can get by.
Excellent. No, that's good. That's very good.
That's my second foreign language. So.
No, there you go. There you go. That's really cool. So yeah, that's amazing. I'm really excited for you to be able to take that kind of trip. That would be really, really cool for you and your husband. You know, if you had to do it all over again, Dr. Anderton, would you still have made the decision to work as a K-12 educator all these years?
That's absolutely yes. My life has become, my family has become, even before I was married, my parents, after I was married, my husband, my children have become so enriched through my work.
Yeah.
The opportunities I've had to grow, to experience life through being connected to so many other people, and to get to know so many people. I mean, I know thousands of people, literally, not only students that I've taught for 19 years, but that I still have contact with many, many of them, but all of the hundreds and hundreds of teachers that I've taught with, hundreds of teachers that I've supervised, it's just the more people that you meet, the more enriched I think your life can become.
Sure.
And I've been able to pay my bills. I'm not rich.
Yeah.
I can take a vacation once every, I think it's been longer than 7 years, actually. I think it's been more like 12 or 15, but I can go on a vacation every now and then. We've saved for a long, long time to go. It pays the bills and it's fine. But I've become so rich from those relationships that I built. Where else are you going to meet so many people with similar passions and learn from their experiences?
Sure.
So I'm thinking now, okay, retirement's coming in several years, 6, 7 years or so. What am I going to do after that? And I can't think of anything. I've explored every option and I just don't want to do it. I just want to do this.
100%.
So I think if I had another chance to start it again, knowing where I've been, that I absolutely would do it again. Okay. I might learn to deal with people better earlier in my career and not be so headstrong.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was in college. I actually was a pre-law major, but there's an old saying, if you want to make God smile, tell him your plans because he might have other plans. So yeah,
I like that.
So.
I started pre-med.
Oh, wow. Okay.
One semester, dropped out of that real quick. Changed a religion major, dropped out of that real quick after a semester and said, I'm just going to do German. We'll see where it goes. And I fell in love with sharing German. And then it moved from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So Dr. Anderton, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. But before you leave, could you please give all the educators around the world that are listening to you and viewing you right now some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Let's do the last part first. I'm easy to connect to. I've got a website, amyanderton.com. It's pretty simple. It's Anderton with a T, not Anderson with an S.
Okay.
So that's pretty easy. Can look me up in Dallas ISD.
Okay.
Parting words of wisdom. I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I guess it goes along with my philosophy of language choice. The reason we have 11 languages in Dallas, when I came 7 years ago, we had barely 6, barely. 2 of them were just barely holding on. And I've been able to grow that and offer more choices. And I've had numerous conversations with not only bilingual Spanish-English bilingual principals, but with monolingual principals. And I would ask them, hey, you've got an opening here for foreign language. Why don't you offer Italian or different suggestions? Oh, no. We just want Spanish. We have schools that are only Spanish. In fact, the majority of our high schools only offer Spanish. Wow. A little more than 50%. And yet the student body is more than 50% Spanish. So they said, well, they can't read it and write it. And I said, then you're telling me they can't read and write? Oh, no, they can read and write English. Well, then they can read and write Spanish, because to transfer that skill, a foreign language skill, is transferable. When you get into logographics like Chinese and Japanese and all, it's a little different maybe, but certainly with the Western languages, it's a transferable skill. So they might spell Ola, O-L-A, but they might spell hello, H-E-L-O. So that's just a spelling convention that they can learn. Sure. They can, if they can pronounce it and they can speak it and they can understand it, they can read and write it, maybe with errors. Sure. But they probably read and write English with errors.
That's true.
So my parting words of wisdom would be to challenge what you think about stereotypes of people. Let's take our Spanish speakers, for example. It is the most common in Texas. You do have a lot of other large community populations in other parts of the world, but we're just going to, or parts of the country, but we're going to take Spanish, for example. So many people think, well, they need to learn Spanish because they don't know it. They don't know how to read and write it. Well, Spanish has worked for these kids for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years in the circles that they run in. Their parents, their family, their friends, that it works for them. And if they're going to be hired by a company because they're bilingual, with the exception of maybe with a teaching degree or a higher degree or becoming a translator and interpreter, basically they're being hired for being able to communicate in those circles already. So if the dealership down the street is going to hire you to be a receptionist or a salesperson because you know how to talk to the people, they don't want to hire somebody who has this really high level, perfect, Spain, Spanish, Instituto Cervantes, or whatever. They want someone who can meet the people and talk to them.
100%.
So why not give our kids choices? I mean, you're telling your Spanish speakers, oh, no, you're not good enough in your language. We're only going to give you a choice. But you're a monolingual English speaker. You can have a choice. You can go and learn another language. Spanish is a whole nother language for you.
Sure.
So I think that with so many Spanish speakers in the States all over, we need to rethink our foreign language programs. We need to think, how can we offer more languages, different languages, and not take the easy road? Well, let's just let them take Spanish so they can get an A. I mean, challenge our kids.
Yes.
Give them something that's going to make their Spanish better and their English better.
Absolutely.
Give them a third language. And it doesn't have to be like the most difficult language on the scale, but
Sure.
something that's maybe a good springboard. A good springboard from English is German. A good springboard from Spanish is Italian or Portuguese or French. So those are great springboards that help you learn your own language. So challenge what you stereotypically think about people in terms of language and ability, and act on that. I think that you'll find everybody likes choices. Our kids come to school because they come for their electives. They don't come, oh boy, I get to go to Algebra 1. I mean, some kids do. Nothing against math, but but for the most part, those classes that they have to take are not the ones they come to school for. Most of our kids, they come because they got a choice to take this or that or that.
Yeah.
So challenge the way that you run your foreign language program, the way you think about it.
I love it.
That would be it.
No, that's really, really good. I mean, you've said something that I never really thought about, but you're right. Like, I mean, even when I think back on my own education, I mean, I love the idea of the extracurriculars, whether we're talking about extracurriculars as it relates to sports and things of that nature, but also
Clubs.
And, even when you're talking about the classes that I think back on that I enjoyed the most, it was not English, math, science, and social studies. So you're right. So very true. Whether we're talking about music or band or art, obviously PE, things of that nature. You're right. I mean, world languages, all of those were really draws that kind of keep you coming to school and excited about school every day. So thank you so much for sharing that. So again, I really want to thank you, Dr. Anderton, for taking the time during an actual conference to meet with us. I mean, it's really, really cool. And definitely want to keep in contact with you. And I know that our viewers and listeners are going to get a lot out of our conversation together. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for having me. I would love to talk to any of your viewers on I don't mean this paid by any means, but like on a consulting basis to give some opinions, some advice about how you can expand your foreign language program, how you can attract new teachers, train those teachers, retain those teachers, keeping those teachers. Because that's attracting and retaining teachers is a big issue right now. And we've done it very, very well in Dallas, especially in foreign languages. So I'm happy to share with any school leader for any amount of time you need. I love to expand foreign languages everywhere.
That's awesome. And I actually have a lot of family in Dallas. So the next time I'm there, maybe you can kind of share with me how things work in Dallas, because we're always looking at new and innovative ways to do things here in Seattle. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Then I have to invite you to my famous specialty coffee barista bar in my office.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks again for having me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, and take care and be blessed.